Hello, everyone. Let me just make sure I'm live in the right place. Hello, everyone. Happy Thursday. I hope you're all having a fantastic week. We are beginning a new series today. And our new series is going to be about magical living. How to create a magical life for ourselves. How to take our everyday lived experience and turn it into something magical. Today I'll talk for maybe 25 minutes or so. And I'm actually going to give you guys a little homework assignment, like a little homework assignment. It's not going to be anything major, but for the next several weeks, well into the new year, I'm going to do a Waking the Witch like I always do, and it's going to be a series of lives with short little homework assignments for you guys to do that will help you to create yourself a magical life. And with each live that I do, some will be only 10 minutes long, some maybe even a little less, some might be a little longer, more like 30 minutes. I'll probably throw in a couple guided meditations for you all and some suggestions on little assignments that you could do each week that will build on one another and will ultimately help us all to begin a life of magical living, create ourselves a life of magical living. Okay. I'm live in the right place. Just had to make sure. Okay, so it's my opinion that most of us live within one of three different stages, three different qualities of life. So there are four different qualities of life that people can have that goes under this idea of magical living. So there's people who live in pure madness, pure chaos, pure victim mentality, pure drama. And that's a life of madness, of falling into every fear trap, to believing that everything is happening to you and that you have to live a life based on outside circumstances that you don't create for yourself. And then there is the messy living phase, where things are just, they're not as negative. Things aren't quite as crazy. It's not pure chaos, but things are unkept. Things are ignored. Things are not taken care of. They are unmanaged, unmaintained. And then you have the mundane life, what most of us think our daily life is. And hi, Tina. Thanks for coming. And the mundane life is boring, right? It's what we would consider boring. It's nothing magical. It's just your regular everyday life. And while you may not be doing a whole lot of suffering, it's a little monotonous and it's a little uneventful. And you might even be lacking interest or excitement in your everyday life when you're in that phase of living. And so I think that often people will fall back into the two below it, the messiness or the madness, because mundane is boring. And people get addicted to things like chaos and trauma because it's more eventful than the mundane everyday living with the monotonous day in and day out being the same thing, where nothing special ever happens and there's never anything to look forward to, and things like this. And I think that we start to think negatively and go backwards when we feel like we're not growing, when we feel like there's nothing to look forward to. And these are important distinctions for us to decide, like, which part of life, which phase of living are we living in? Are we living in the madness? Are we in chaos? Or are we addicted to drama? Are we constantly watching the news and freaking out about the fear porn that's on there? Are we constantly in survival mode, thinking that we can never get ahead? Now, granted, I'm not one to ignore what is, of course. Sometimes we're in a situation where we feel like we can't get ahead. But it really is a mindset and a belief system that keeps us in that space, regardless of what other outside circumstances might be going on. And so this is a step-by-step process, and each lesson's going to build on the other. I have some notes written down here so I don't forget anything. And so we're going to explore these 4 states that people tend to live in and uncover how to set the conditions for magical living for ourselves. So how do we go from that madness to a magical life? Now, there are a lot of people who come from addictive backgrounds, poverty, a lifestyle of madness growing up, and that today lead very, very magical lives. I can't say that I came from pure madness, but there was definitely madness going on. And what it takes for us is we either start out at mundane in our in the life that we're growing up in, or we start out in a messy life, or we start out in a life of madness. Now, some of us will start out higher on the scale in a mundane life, and shit happens, and we don't know how to fix it, we don't know how to get out of it, we don't know how to heal ourselves, and so we continue to actually move backwards, that was me. I grew up in a mundane home where there wasn't any huge big problems. People were stressed out, money wasn't abundant, but we had what we needed. We were healthy enough to an extent, but then as I got older and as I went out into the world and I realized that the magical life I thought I lived wasn't actually real, and all sorts of things started snowballing, and then there was trauma and there was stress, and I actually went backwards and wound up living in a life of madness. And then I finally had suffered enough. And so even people that live in the mundane part of it, where it's boring, it's monotonous, but there's nothing crazy chaotic going on, there's, things aren't extremely messy and unkept, but it's just not exciting. We all have to get to a point where we're sick of it in order to actually do anything about it, because most of us aren't going to do extra things or get uncomfortable or do things that are new, because our brain stops us from doing new things. We're not going to do the work unless we are sick to death of what is, of the kind of life that we're living. And so that is a big part of it. The getting really tired of sitting in that place where you're not moving forward. So many people live in disappointment, in pain, in loss, depression. But despite your toughest setbacks in life, there is hope. And there is a way to reawaken that inner child that's still inside of you, that believes in magic and knows that we can have a magical life. When we were born here, when we came here to this planet, when we were born here as children, we thought anything was possible. We thought we lived in a world of possibility, and that anything that we saw in the outside world was available to us. So when we were little, we would make these great, huge, big, long lists of the things that we wanted from Santa Claus. Why was it? It wasn't because we were selfish children and we wanted to have more than others, or that we really believed that it was available to us. We didn't have those limiting beliefs that we have now. And without those limiting beliefs, we can be that person again, that child again, and reconnect with that child within us that knows that abundance is our birthright. We all carry around our inner child for the rest of our lives. Sometimes it's going to take healing your inner child to get back to that place where your inner child feels magical and safe to feel magical and safe to feel abundant. But regardless of what it takes, it's possible for every one of us. And over the next few weeks, I'm going to do my best to put everything that I have into these lives to help you pull the magic back out of you. And recently, working with people, I've learned that most people live in one of those phases that we just talked about, in the mundane, or in the messy, or in the madness, in the pure chaos. And so what's going to become important is going to be us learning how to figure out in each area of our lives where we stand. So in your money life, you might be living in the madness. You might be living in the midst of the drama. In your career, you might be living in the messy part of your life. You might be having, it's just unkept. You just don't really care about it. You just go there and get the check. Like, you don't, your desk's a mess. You don't really care for what you do. You just do the bare minimum to get by. And then, like in your love relationships, you can live in the magic. And in your friendships, you can live in the mundane. Where a lot of us end up as adults in our friendships, where they're not overly exciting and we don't make a whole lot of time for each other, but like, we're there for each other. And I mean, it's a little boring, right? We don't do a whole lot. We don't go out together a lot. You know, we have kids, we have families and aging parents, and we have careers, and we're exhausted. And so we're living in the mundane in our friendships. And so we can be living in all of these categories at the same time in different areas of our lives. Now here's the goal. We have to get rid of the madness in our lives. We have to get rid of the messiness in our lives. And yes, it's difficult sometimes to hold it all together. And we're going to sometimes go backwards and then back forwards again. Let's try not to ever go back to the madness. If things get messy, sometimes they get messy. But we don't want to go back to the madness where we're falling back into addictions and we're falling back into pure victim mentality. Here's the truth. Look around you. Look at all the people that you've ever seen that are successful, that have the kind of life that you want to live. They all didn't start out that way. And if they can do it, then you can do it. If I can get as far as I've gotten from where I started, so can you. And we're going to work on this together over the next few weeks. And yes, sometimes it's hard to break through into to break the barrier. It's a belief barrier. But we don't want to be addicted to the madness. We don't want to allow ourselves to sit in our mess, to sit in our madness, to continue to be cycled back into drama, things like this. So what we're going to do is we're going to divide our lives into 6 areas. And if you're following here, please grab a pen and paper and write this down. I will also create a post on this in the group for you guys. So we're going to divide our lives into 6 areas. Money, parenting, career, health, love relationships, and friendships. I'm going to say it again. Money, parenting, career, health, love relationships, and friendships. And then we're going to rate ourselves on a 1 to 10 in each area, so that we can kind of form a basis of where we're at. Because if we don't know where we're at, how can we know how to get to where we want to go, right? We have to know where we're at and where we want to go so that we can create that path from where we're at to where we want to go. And I think that's another thing that is an issue for us these days. So many of us don't take the time to get to know ourselves. We don't think the right way about how to get ourselves out of the situations that we're in. We give up too easily. We don't sit down and challenge ourselves. I mean, and it's hard. I don't challenge myself for no reason either, usually. That's why I hire coaches. That's why I'm in groups for personal development. That's why I surround myself with people who are constantly looking towards growth for themselves, for their businesses, for their lives, for their friends and family. And we do become like the 5 people that we spend the most time with. And so how can you, I'd like you to think, how can you get yourself around more people who are going to be of a growth mindset, who are going to inspire you to want more for yourself, who are going to be supportive of your ideas rather than putting them down? And we want to try to spend a little less time with the people who are going to be like, you can't do that. There's no way. There's no way that by this time next year you can have your dream job and the career that you want and the new puppy that you want and your own apartment. Well, who says? That's bullshit. And you don't need to be around people who don't believe in you. Because even if it's not likely, you still have a greater chance of getting halfway there, part of the way there, 3/4 of the way there, and maybe even all the way there, if you're around people who will encourage you to continue moving forward instead of buying into our bullshit stories. And that's what they are. They're bullshit stories about our lack of ability to do things, about our lack of finances, about our lack of ability, our lack of know-how, our all of the stories that we tell ourselves about what we're capable of or what we're not capable of that aren't even real. And so we're going to write down the dividing our life into the 6 areas: the money, the parenting, the career, the health, the love, relationships, and the friendships. And we are going to, on a scale of 1 to 10, in each area, we're going to rate ourselves. And then I am going to, this week, I'm going to record a short meditation for you guys to listen to while you're doing this pondering, while you're thinking, and it'll kind of help you guys get into the mood of doing this, this challenge with me, this little series that I'm going to do. Yeah. I think that's pretty much it. So, we're going to stop being unmanaged, unmaintained, messy, dramatic. We're going to stop feeling like we aren't getting anywhere. We're going to stop feeling like we can't take the next step to go forward. We're going to stop this messy mindset stuff that's stopping us from getting to where we want to go. And for the rest of this year and going into the new year, we are going to create a new mindset for ourselves. And I challenge you to follow along with me and to do the challenges that I give you to do, because they're all going to build on one another. And in the long run, this is going to be super helpful for you if you stick with it. And so I'll see you guys next Thursday. If I don't see you before then, I think I will be back before then to do the new moon, the full moon reading. I think that there is the full moon on Tuesday or Wednesday of this upcoming week. I'll look that up and let you guys know. But I'll be in the group doing a reading, and then I'll be back next Thursday, same time, same place, and we'll continue where we left off. Enjoy the rest of your day. Hold on, I can go.